Black Financial Channel. It's so good to see everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. Today on the Black Financial Channel, we're going to talk about this thing called the silent depression. Apparently, there is a phenomenon going around on TikTok where there are people who are comparing today's economic situation to the Great Depression. And they're making some interesting arguments. I took a big page, a couple pages of notes on what they were sort of discussing. And as a finance professor, I want to come in and kind of give you my 2 cents on this topic. I might even give you a nickel or more, or a dollar, or whatever, and $1 million worth of game, I hope, on this silent depression, what it means, and how you can deal with this, particularly as a Black person. So get comfortable, buckle up a seatbelt. We're going to get started on the Black Financial Channel right now. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Black Financial Channel. That's theblackfinancialchannel.com. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I am your friendly neighborhood finance professor. On the Black Financial Channel, we talk about Black wealth every single day, sometimes as much as 10 times a day, under the B1 condition. B1 means we are Black first. It doesn't mean we hate anybody. It just means we love ourselves. If you believe that it is our job to solve our problems, put a B1 in the chat. If you believe that we should educate our kids and get them ready for the future, put a B1 in the chat. If you also want to see more intelligence in the world and not just a bunch of ignorant stuff, put a B1 in the chat. So anyway, I want to say good morning to everybody. And let's see, I see my brother has a question about Jay Morrison and the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. I'm going to give you a little news flash, brother. The Tulsa Real Estate Fund, that is not my fund. That is Jay Morrison's fund. So if you have a question about that and you are an investor and not a hater, not just somebody who's being critical, go to their website and they can tell you all the information that you need to know. Because some people get all the information. They just want to act like they didn't hear. They want to act like, well, I didn't hear nothing because you only repeated it 47 times. So you know what? I'll tell you what. If you want my 2 cents on that topic, I did a video about that the other day, and I answered a bunch of your questions about that. And I want you to also understand that investing is not for everybody. Investing may not be for you. You need to understand this. Give me a yes. Give me a yes if you understand this. That investing comes with risk. That investing is just like dating. It's just like falling in love. Sometimes, how many of y'all have fallen in love and got your heart broken? Give me a yes in the chat. How many of you have fallen in love and had somebody dump you for no reason? Give me a yes in the chat. How many of you have fallen in love and the person did not turn out to be what you thought they were going to be? Give me a yes in the chat. Now, if that has happened to you, and I compare this to investing because I want you to really understand this. If it happens to you, you have a choice. When you get your heart broken, when you get done dirty or things don't work out for you, you have a choice. You can either sit and talk about it for the next 800 years and be bitter and cold and mean and nasty and ugly and just be very, cynical about it. Or you can move on and find something better. Be a little more discerning about who you fall in love with. And so that's what you got to do. I'm serious. This is not just economic advice. This is life advice. Because actually what you'll find is that economics is a lot like love. Building an economy is exactly the same dynamic that builds a healthy relationship. It's all very much related. That we studied when I was in graduate school came out of biology. They came out. You can apply them to things like relationship therapy, stuff like that. My wife is a therapist, and we compare notes all the time. So just keep that in mind. All right. So anyway, let me know you can hear me okay. Give me a yes if I'm coming through all right. Yesterday when I was live, it was a little bit choppy. And I can't. I don't know what to do about that. I don't know how to fix that. I'm actually in LA. I'm actually right next to LAX, about to fly back home. We did a 2-day Black Wealth training camp here. Thanks to those of you who came out. It was awesome. There wasn't an empty seat in the room, and I had a great time with all of you. So let me know. Am I coming through all right? And also, if you like to listen to things on audio and just don't want to do the video, that's fine. We have options. This podcast is on Spotify. So if you go to Spotify, look up the Dr. Boyce Breakdown, you can find me there. All right, so let's get started here. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. Thumbs up, everybody. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when I go live, stuff like that. All right. So how many of you have heard of this phenomenon called the silent depression? It's big on TikTok. Everybody's talking about it. And well, not everybody. A lot of people are talking about it. And give me a yes or no if you've heard about it or if you know what this might have to do with. And I'll read it to you. I'll read what I found on this. And what I found here is someone says that it was written. It was actually written up in Forbes. So they said that this trend called silent depression is a viral trend. It compares the current economic situation in the U.S. to the era of the Great Depression. According to the article, many Americans are struggling with their finances. And despite not having a 25% unemployment rate like in the 1930s, they are working harder and longer hours only to stagnate or fall behind. The article also mentions that American households have incurred more than $1 trillion in credit card debt and tapped into their 401k retirement plans, and many are unable to purchase a home as mortgage rates have soared past 7%. So that is the Great Depression. That is the Great Depression. And I saw another dynamic. I made some notes when they shared these stats. And again, these stats are actually a little bit debatable, and I'm going to tell you why. But there was a person who did I saw a few little videos where people were saying that in 1930, the average income was $4,887 a year, and that equates to about $87,000 per year today. They said, however, in 2018, the average income was about 31,000, but here's the thing. I think that data might be a little bit off. I've heard that those numbers are a little bit higher, more so toward the 50s, and also that average income number actually went lower in the 1930s. And what I'm also going to show you, and then just so you know, I want to give you sort of a little blues clue here, or a little bit of a hint, a foreshadow. I'm going to take everything I'm saying right now and I'm going to toss it out the window in a minute. I'm literally going to throw it all out into the garbage. Not wrong, but because I out and then make it black. I want to black up for you. The black experience is very unblack economic experience. Being black in America is very different from being non-black. So I'm going to try to explain it from a black man's perspective. I'm not a finance professor who happens to be black. I'm actually a black man who happens to be a finance professor. So let me share this page with you, and then I'm going to actually talk about it from a black perspective. So let me see here. I see my Wi-Fi was acting a little bit weird, so I got to be real careful here. These dang hotels, they just give you the crappy, mediocre Wi-Fi. All right, so let me see. Here we go. All right, so if you look at this chart here, give me a guess if you can see this chart on the screen. If you're watching on Instagram or TikTok, you won't see the chart, but I'll describe it to you and I'll explain what's here. Give me a guess in the chat if you see this. So if you look here, this black line represents median income per family, not per individual, per family. And that's a really important point that I'm going to bring up in a second. The black line is median income per family since the 1930s. And you see that number has gone consistently up, as it should, because you have things like inflation and stuff like that. Hopefully increase national productivity. That's supposed to increase income, all that stuff. Then you have this red line, which is income adjusted for inflation and tax burden. And then the blue line represents income adjusted for inflation. So if you look, even when you look at income adjusted for inflation, you see that according to this chart anyway, average incomes have gone up on some level. They kind of gone up and down. There's a little bit of oscillation here in the Carter, Reagan, Bush, and Clinton administrations, and then it dipped again under Obama, but then it started back on the uptrend. So here you see right here, this blue line is really the inflation adjusted number. Okay. And that's an important number, right? Now, the red adjusts for inflation and tax burden. I'll point this out really quick. Notice that gap between the blue and the red grows as time goes on. That this gap is growing right here. It's bigger here than it was there. So what does that mean? I'm gonna summarize this, especially for those of you that can't see the chart. It's okay. Don't worry. If you listen on Spotify, you won't be able to see this, but I'll explain it. The government's tax burden on the American people has consistently gone up. It's consistently gone up. They're taxing you more. And the reason they're taxing you more is because they are falling further and further behind. The government's debt levels are incredibly unsustainable. The deficits are ridiculous. A lot really accelerate right after the year 2000 because nobody, guys, it looks like I'm getting some. One second, hit that thumbs up button while I see if I can fix this situation with the Wi-Fi. Don't go anywhere. If you will give me grace for 1 second, I'm going to try to put us on a better Wi-Fi signal. Let me know if you can still hear me. Okay, I apologize, everybody, for this. This is me being a bootleg podcaster. I don't have like an actual show or anything. This is not as if I'm like a real professional at this stuff. I'm just a black man doing his best to talk to the. All right, so let me see if I can figure out a better way to get a better Wi-Fi. That the Hilton would have better Wi-Fi. You would think that the Hilton's Wi-Fi would be, premier, but it's not. It's mediocre as hell. So as I kind of work with the Wi-Fi, I'll explain to you what's going through my mind and what I'm kind of processing here. Basically, this thing that I'm seeing here is that the government's taxation on the citizens has gone up mainly because after Bush came into office, when we had that surplus, that was an opportunity for the Republicans to push through a lot of tax breaks for the rich. So when the Republicans pushed through those tax breaks for the wealthy, that caused government revenue to drop. But the expenses kept going up, because does anybody remember? Answer me in the chat. How many of you remember what happened right after the year 2000? What was the big event that occurred right after the year 2000? There we go. Okay, good. I was trying to get on a different Wi-Fi signal so it will come through more clearly. Anybody remember? What was the big event that happened after the year 2000? 9/11. 9/11, right? And 9/11 wasn't just a one-time tragedy. 9/11 led to damn near a 20-year war that cost several $trillion and not only cost hundreds of thousands of lives, right? So this sank our economy into a deep sort of deficit-based sort of operational mode. And on top of that, in 2007, 2008, what happened then? Does anybody remember? It was when the first black president got elected, and it was during a horrible economic time for the country. That also added to the deficit. So why do I bring all this up? I bring this up because this is one of the reasons, in my view, why taxation on the American people has gone up. And what's really fascinating is that I can confirm this as a business owner and as a guy. I'm not poor. I haven't been poor for a long time. My first job when I was 30, I made $100,000 a year. So I'm not a poor person. I'm not going to pretend like I'm poor. I'm a finance professor. Hopefully, I have a couple of dollars, right? And I can confirm to you that most of the tax burden ends up coming from the American people. The American people are the ones who take on this tax burden. Most of the taxes are paid by people who go to work every day. Rich people have lots of write-offs. They have accountants that can help them write off all their expenses, right? So when you see them in yachts and airplanes and helicopters, it's because they've been able to connect that to their LLC or their business, and they're able to write that off in their taxes. Okay, so now that I've kind of laid out the framework, let's dig deeper into the issue. Before I move on, do me a favor. Let me know if you can hear me. Give me a yes if you can hear me. I just switched my Wi-Fi signal. Hopefully, I'm coming through okay. So give me a yes if you're able to hear me all right. And if I need to get closer to the microphone, speak a little louder, or whatever the case may be. And also hit the thumbs up button. And in addition to that, I have a new book out. It's called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. You can get a copy at Amazon. Read the reviews. The reviews are good. Most of you love it. And also, you can go to drboycebooks.com, especially if you want an autographed copy. Just search for the word autograph, and you can get autographed copies of my book. And my wife's books are on there, too. My wife is a therapist and a full professor of social work, and she's written some great books about financial anxiety, things like that. And in addition to that, Dr. Claude Anderson, I talked to him this morning. He wrote a book called Powernomics, which a lot of you have heard of. We do Powernomics training every Wednesday. We read his books, and this is something that we do for the public to train as many people in the community as possible on the economic principles that will make you strong. It doesn't require any cost whatsoever. And so you can learn more at boycewatkins.com. Also, I encourage you to go to powernomics.com to take a look at his books. In fact, I love Dr. Anderson so much that I will tell you point blank, you should buy his books before you buy mine. So go buy his books. This man is amazing. All right. So anyway, let's hop back into this. All right. So now some of you are asking about stock portfolios. I sent you guys some profit alerts this week in terms of stocks that I like. The other day, I don't know if any of you saw this. I mentioned to you all that I was going to buy some put options on Apple. because there were some problems with Apple in China. And based on my research, I said, you know what, I think there might be some money that could be made here. And I went ahead and bought some puts. Now, I do not give investing advice. I want to make that clear, right? So don't ever, you should never ever hear anybody say, Dr. Boyce told me to do this, or Dr. Boyce gave advice and told me to do that. I don't give financial advice. I want to make that clear. However, I will share with you what I do. So here's what. So what I did was I told you guys I was buying some put options on Apple, and I just sold those puts today, and the return was pretty nice. I made about 25% ROI. So I don't know how much I put in. Maybe I put in $600 or something. It turned into 800 or something, right? So it wasn't a massive profit, but I did get out of that position. Now, if you want to get profit alerts or me telling you stocks that I like or things like that, just text the word stock to 31996. If you text the word stock to 31996, I'll send you those profit alerts. Also, I'll send you a copy of our $5 a day investing plan, as well as our training on how to make money without working. All that's free. So feel free to text the word stock to 31996. Let's keep going here. We're talking about this silent depression thing. So the silent depression is this basic idea that what we're going through now economically is similar to the Great Depression. I'm not going to say that's wrong, but I am going to say that there's some nuance to this trend that needs to be sort of considered here. The first thing is, now, by the way, let's see. Surreal says, I emailed your manager 2 months ago, no follow-up. First off, let me say this. If you email my manager, and I'm going to put our email address in here, manager@boycewatkins.com, state your purpose very quickly. Because my manager gets hundreds of emails a day, and if you're not clear, like if it's a bunch of stuff and it's ambiguous, she may not respond. So if you have something where you want me to come speak, or you're seeking to do business with us, or you have, especially if you have a customer service issue with the Black Business School, she will forward your email to the appropriate people. So if you have an issue with the Black Business School, we have an excellent customer support team. That's why our customers are so happy. That's why our net promoter scores are extremely high, higher than Harvard University, higher than Microsoft, higher than Apple. It's because the people that come to the Black Business School get excellent service, because we invest millions of dollars in good customer service. So if you email support@theblackbusinessschool.com, they can take care of you. But just know, if there's not something that makes sense, from a business standpoint, you may not necessarily get the reply you're looking for, but it doesn't mean that the email wasn't seen. So there's a couple emails, brother, that you can use. So feel free to use those emails. But just know that there's some things we can do, some things we can't do, because we run a small Black business, and it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. It's really difficult because Black people don't really trust a lot. And even though I've been teaching finance for 30 years, there are literally people out here who believe that if you're teaching finance and everything isn't free, you are a scammer. Like, there are people that will say these things, and I don't understand that. There's nothing about my credentials that is false. I spent 10 years working toward my doctorate, including 4 years of undergrad, several years working on my master's and my PhD. I taught at Syracuse University, Indiana University, etc. And so even though my credentials, they're not perfect. Now, nobody's perfect, but I have a track record of 30 years of doing this. There's still people that that just don't believe you. And I think that if I were a white guy doing this, I don't think I would get that same reaction. And I think what tends to happen is that people have an easier time believing that a Black man is a basketball player than they have believing that he's a professor. Or if you're a comedian or a rapper, that makes sense to people. But if you're a finance professor, they're like, you're not a professor. You're a fraud. You're making things up. And I just say, well, my dissertation's online. You can go read it. My dissertation committee was headed by Professor Andrew Caroli, who's at Cornell University. I think he's the dean or something, or I don't know what he has exactly. But the credentials are there, and this speaks to the lack of trust that exists in the community. We have a lot of distrust, particularly for each other. And I dealt with that also with white students when I would teach white kids. If I go into class and I make a mistake, it's not the same as if a white guy makes a mistake. So if the bearded white man down the hall makes a mistake, they say, oh, the professor made a mistake, right? And that's no big deal. But if I make the mistake, it's like, oh, you're not qualified and you're not good enough. I don't know if anybody's ever gone through that, but it's very difficult to be a Black person who's not an entertainer or a rapper or a basketball or football player or a comedian. If you're trying to be a scientist or a doctor, lawyer, engineer, people just don't believe you, and it's very confusing. It's a little frustrating, but you just push through it. You just keep on going. And so just so you know, if you're in the Black Business School, A lot of our stuff is free. We give you more value for free than you got in college, even if you spent $100,000 a year in college. But if you want premium stuff, there is a fee to that. And the reason that it's not free is because we have to pay our staff. We have to pay for facilities. When we came to LA, it cost us $30,000 just to do a small event in Los Angeles. The All Black National Convention cost about $250,000. So we have to find a way to raise that money. It's not going to come out of the sky. We're not going to go beg corporations for it. We don't want funding from the government. So everything can't be free, and I really encourage people to understand that, because what I think happens is that when a white person has a business and they're scraping up billions of dollars out of the Black community, we don't ask any questions. We just assume Walmart's going to charge you money. Target's going to charge you money. The University of California is going to charge you money. And we pay that. And we just, we don't like it, but we just sort of understand that. But when a Black person charges money, it's like, oh, he must be scamming me. He's stealing from me. And the best we can do is say that we have the best customer service team. We make sure that you get double your value. We make sure that you get everything that you pay for. And if you don't, you email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. And we've got a whole team that's sitting right there waiting to figure out what went wrong and how we can make you happy. Okay. So anyway, that's it. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. So if you want to see some of the stuff that I do offer, things I do, just go to BoyceWatkins.com. There's a lot of stuff there. It's scientifically proven. It's not made up stuff. I'm not just a guy who got on the internet and decided that I wanted to become a quick financial guru. I spent 20 years doing this. All right. So anyway, let's hop back into this. So let's talk about the silent depression thing. What I want to do is break this down really quick. First off, I want to say this. While they're debating, I saw that there was some debate over whether or not we're in a silent depression. Meaning whether or not the economic conditions today are equivalent to the Great Depression. That debate, if you're Black, that debate is kind of a moot debate. Well, why is that? Well, because most studies show, as we know, that Black income levels and wealth levels are significantly lower than white income levels. So while some white people are experiencing the silent depression and some are not, a large majority of Black people are. Right? Like my grandmother used to talk about the Great Depression. She said, I didn't even know that we were in a Great Depression because we were always poor. We were always struggling. We were always broke. So it wasn't like they went from being wealthy to being poor and then wealthy again. They went from poor to poor to poor. And that's where they kind of had to stay. Right. So the silent depression for Black people has always been in existence. Even when the economy is booming, if I show you a chart of Black income levels, Black wealth levels, etc., that depression has always been in existence for Black people. It's never been anything other than that for you, right? So not for all of you, but for a lot of us, right? I grew up, without much money, but I didn't even know I was poor because all my friends had the same amount of money that we did. So it wasn't like I felt any sort of like poverty per se. I was like, oh, I assumed everybody had roaches in the kitchen. I assumed everybody, would have empty refrigerators, when their mama didn't get paid that week. Right. I just, saw this, right? So this silent depression is a very different experience for other people than it is for Black people. And then also, though, not every person in America is having the same economic experience. Okay. So this silent depression phenomenon is it's real. It does exist. And let me give you a couple of variables that will help you understand the dynamics of what's happened in America. And then I'm also going to give you solutions. I'm solution oriented on this. Okay. All right. And so anyway, do me a favor, thumbs up. Please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. And don't forget the All Black National Convention, where we get together and solve problems for the community. But we also have, it's fun. We have family reunions. We have entertainment. It's so much fun. It's going to be October 20th in Atlanta at the Marriott Marquis Hotel. So if you go to allblacknationalconvention.com, you can join us there. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. And also, if you want to take advantage of something that's low cost in the Black Business School that'll help you on your wealth building journey, just go to blackmoney101.com. I've got a whole training camp I put together. It's really good stuff. You can share it with your whole family. And it's blackmoney101.com. Let me know. Can you guys hear me okay? Am I coming through smoothly? It's not choppy anymore. I hope it's not choppy. If it is, I apologize. I'm doing my best. So let me finish up here because I got to get ready to get on this flight. Okay, first off, I want you to understand that when I think about silent depression, I wasn't just thinking about the economics. I was thinking about all the different ways that your ability to live a wealthy life have been affected, especially during the pandemic. So the pandemic and other economic phenomena didn't just impact you financially. There is, since the pandemic, there is a mental health crisis occurring in this country unlike anything you would believe. My wife, my lovely black beautiful wife that I just love so much. I just, every time I talk about her, I just, think, I just, get excited. Um, she happens to be a therapist. There she is on the screen. And she told me that her office is full of people since the pandemic. She said that after the pandemic started, every therapist she knew was booked to the teeth. Booked to the teeth. Well, why is that? Well, I don't know. What do you think happens when you tell 17-year-olds that are excited about their senior prom that there is not going to be a senior prom because we need you to socially distance from every girl that might give you your first kiss? What do you think happens when you have people that are forced to sit at home isolated and live in a divided society where you're told that you shouldn't even go to your grandma's house for Thanksgiving because if you do, you're a murderer and you're gonna go kill your grandma, right? That's what they did. That's what happened. That's what you did. That's what happened in our country. So you have a silent depression that's deeper than just the money. The money is part of the equation. The money is an important part of your quality of life. Money can buy happiness if you use it appropriately. Yeah, they say, can money buy happiness? Yeah, because being broke can make you very unhappy. Not being able to pay your bills can make you very unhappy. So at the very least, money, and maybe it can't buy you happiness, but money at the very least can help you avoid unhappiness. It can buy your way out of unhappiness. Give me a yes if you understand what I'm saying. So the money is important, but what's also important are things like your health, physical and mental health, and your relationships with other people and your relationships even with yourself. So when I saw the term silent depression, it meant so much more to me than just how much money people have. There's plenty of people that have lots of money who are incredibly unhappy. Just be clear about that. Money is a wonderful drug. Money affects your brain like dopamine, or it hits your dopamine levels, and you feel the high. It affects it like a cocaine or something, right? So the high of money is very real, but there's so much other stuff that matters in terms of quality of life, and that was lost after the pandemic. So the mental health crisis is there. Um, that ties into a lot of the reasons why there is an economic depression to some extent, particularly for a lot of people. The cost of healthcare insanely high. Welcome to America. Welcome to capitalism. I spent time this summer. I did a tour of Iceland, Denmark, and Sweden. They don't have those problems. Why? Well, because they have a government that actually passes laws to the benefit of the citizens, not just to the benefit of the corporations. So effectively, healthcare in America, you pay more than almost every other country on the planet. Actually, you do pay more than every other country, but your quality of care is like ranked number 33rd or something on the planet, lower than countries like Costa Rica, stuff like that. The cost of college has gone way up. Why? Well, because when they started providing all those loans and funding for university expenses, colleges said, oh, this is great. This gives us a free pass to increase the price of tuition as much as we want. And now everyone's drowning in this student loan debt where they use your family wealth to gentrify your grandma's neighborhood. Most of these universities, I'm talking black now, most of these universities are in black neighborhoods. Not most, a lot of them are. And what they do is they say, well, because we want to keep our students safe, you're talking to a university professor here. I've studied this, I've analyzed this. They say, well, because we want to keep our students safe from the people in the hood, we're just going to start going to buy the hood. And we're going to buy all these buildings and houses and neighborhoods around the university so we can turn it into campus housing. So they're taking all that money that they're getting from your student loans, also from your black basketball and football players, and they're applying that money to buying up the entire block in mostly black neighborhoods. They're doing it at places like Yale University. Lord Jesus, think about this. You're a rich guy. You send your child to Yale, and you find out Yale is in the hood. You're concerned about that. USC does it. UCLA does it. What's it? University of Louisville does it. Syracuse University, where I used to teach, they were doing it. So yeah. The cost of college has gotten insane. Every chart I show you that looks at the rate of inflation and the rise in college costs will show you that college has risen far beyond the rate of inflation. It's crazy. The cost of housing's gone up. Housing prices have gone up. They're going to keep on going up, and it's going to be especially interesting once companies like BlackRock start buying up everything and just turning millions of people into renters. Go to Atlanta. It's happening right now because unfortunately your politicians, they serve corporations. So BlackRock is being allowed to do something in Atlanta that they can't do in places like Denmark. I went to Denmark. We talked about BlackRock, and I talked to one of the people there. They say, yeah, BlackRock was trying to buy up all the houses so that they could rent the houses out. And our government passed a law saying that they could not do that. In America, they don't do that kind of thing. So the price of housing is going to keep on going up as it has been. All the while, wages have not been going up at all. Your wage, especially adjusted for inflation, has not. It's been stagnant. It's been very stagnant. So the question becomes, when you talk about this financial depression, how are you supposed to keep up with rising cost of everything when your wages are remaining flat? Well, you know what? You can't do that, right? Because I've been a mathematician for a long time. I taught math at the University of Kentucky, and one of the things I learned in mathematics is that 7 will never be bigger than 12. I learned a long time ago that 2 plus 2 can never equal 44, no matter how it makes you feel, no matter how much you want to believe that, no matter how you feel about it, no matter how much it pisses you off. 2 plus 2 will never equal 44. 19 will never be a bigger number than 142. So effectively, this idea that you somehow can find a way to survive with flat wages in a society where the cost of everything is going up doesn't make any sense. So what's going to have to occur, and this is for intelligent Black people. This is where you guys get to be the canary in the mine, because I know this stuff. This is what I do. Deion Sanders is that dude in football. I'm that dude in finance. I know I was the only Black man on the planet to get a PhD in finance in the year 2002. I was the Wall Street Journal outstanding graduating senior. I had the highest grade point average of all the Black students on my campus. I have to say these things because there are people out here who want to just think I'm a regular person running his mouth on the internet. That is not true. I know what the hell I'm talking about. And what I'm telling you right now, and at the risk of sounding arrogant, is if you want to survive in this economy and you want your kids to survive, you better change the damn game. If you want to do well in this economy, you better change the rules. You better change the way you play. Like when the Dallas Cowboys beat the New York Giants the other day, 40-0, the Giants learn quickly that they can't win this game if they keep playing with the same strategy that they were playing with all throughout the game. In fact, they're sitting there right now in their office saying, if we keep playing like this, we're going to keep getting killed. Because I don't even think the Cowboys are that good. They have to prove it to me. I'm a Cowboys fan, by the way. So my point is to say that the math doesn't add up. Your wages are going down and staying flat, but yet your expenses are going up. So how are people compensating? Well, they're going into credit card debt. That's where the $1 trillion in credit card debt comes from. And so here are a couple of things I want you to think about. I'm not telling you what to do. This is not investing advice. This is just me looking at the dynamics and trying to figure out, like, how do you figure this out? How do you make this work? How do you get your kids ready? Okay. Number one, there's this thing called marriage and family or just healthy relationships that people don't ever really talk about in a way that's really beneficial to society. I'm not telling everybody to run off and get married like me. You ain't got to do that. I'm not telling you to do that. What I'm saying to you is that two incomes typically are higher than one income by itself. 40,000 a year plus 40,000 a year. Well, that's higher than 40,000 a year. That becomes 80,000 a year. Most of these economic assumptions, when they talk about the state of the American economy, they always assume everybody wants to be single forever, that everybody's doing it all by themselves. So what I'm telling you is that one wealth hack is this thing called family. Or if you want to do marriage, that's fine. If you want to have a wifey, pretend husband live with your best friend, partnership. That's what I'm saying. Let's not get into whether or not I'm telling people to go get married. I'm not doing that. What I'm saying to you is that if you remember in the 1930s, in the Great Depression, there was a reason why people would stay together. They would figure it out because they were like, man, if we try to do this by ourselves, it's going to be really hard. Now it was a different time though. Remember, women didn't work as much, but still, it's easier to get stuff done when you have two people. My wife called me yesterday and said, hey, honey, the new couch is in. And I'm like, great. Wow, I didn't know we ordered the couch. That's awesome. You mean that couch that you showed me, that pretty picture? She's like, yeah. And she's like, I was like, oh, well, did you take the money out of the account? She's like, oh, don't worry, I paid for it. Like, that's cool, right? I was like, oh, this is nice. I get a nice, comfortable couch. I didn't even have to write the damn check. Shout out to productive Black women. Y'all are awesome teammates. So the stuff like marriage, working together as family, is critical. It might be a friend, it could be a sibling, it could be a homeboy, it could be a wifey, it could be a spouse, it could be whatever you want. But if you have multiple people working together, then all the things that are expensive suddenly become cheap. That's my point. So if you want to go long term, I believe that when I get $1 billion and I open up a Black school system, when I get that billion and I figure out a way to open up these schools I want to open up, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have our kids take classes on how to maintain healthy relationships, how to get along with each other, how to have more friends than foes, how to not go through life triggered and traumatized and cutting people off and getting rid of the woman you love because she made you mad one time, or dumping a man because you went on a date and you didn't like his shoes. Like whatever. I'd love to have a class like that where we can get that Francis Cress Welsing type knowledge for our children so they can learn how to work together. The Chinese government's going to be the strongest economy on the planet by the year 2050 or so. They're going to be the strongest economy on earth. And if you look at Chinese culture, the number one thing that they do, they teach their children from birth, is how to work together, how to live as a collective, how to move in a unit. We don't do that. Everybody wants to be a peacock. Everybody wants to do it by themselves. Even your Black leadership. Some of your so-called Black leaders are arrogant, or your rappers. Look at me. I'm the man. Come on, shut up. You're not you're part of a collective. So ultimately, things like marriage and family, those are great wealth hacks. Also, I wouldn't even I'm not putting my kids into this economy as employees and workers. America does not treat its workers very well. They don't even support unions. You put up a Starbucks, employees tried to unionize. They shut down the whole Starbucks. They shut down a whole restaurant or whole whatever they call the Starbucks. They don't call them restaurant, but you know what I mean. They shut down that whole Starbucks office restaurant location just because they were forming a union. They're like, we'd rather kill the whole business in this area than to let y'all unionize. So America doesn't treat its workers very well. Eventually it's gonna be very costly for the country. But I'm not sending my children into slavery. We talking all day about how it's more beneficial to have a business, how you really want to make sure you're investing consistently. You want to be an owner of things. Franchise, thank you. Maybe because it's early and I ain't had all my coffee, so that's why I can't get all my words right. But anyway, so my point is the matter is to say, why would you don't send your kids out here just looking for jobs? It's very hard for people who are single and looking for jobs. One thing I'll say is my brother and I, we're both men that we're not poor. He's in the investment industry. He works with startups and mutual funds and all that. And so he has money. And if he wanted to just be a single man and have a bunch of girlfriends, he probably could. But he wanted to be a husband and a father. And I like being a husband and a father. And the reason we chose to be husbands and fathers is because we learned that from our daddy. We learned that there's a point where the little boy has to grow up and become a grown man. And that masculinity in our family is not about driving a fancy car or drinking liquor or having a beard or having a deep voice. Masculinity in our family comes down to taking responsibility for something. Masculinity in our family came down to being accountable. It came down to knowing that there are some people, some women and children, or some people somewhere that know that you have their back. And I'm a fan of that type of masculinity. I know people might disagree, but I think that's really important. And I'm just, that's a little side note in terms of talking about what it looks like to not just build the family as an important institution in the community, because you have to rebuild your families. Your families were destroyed. It's terrible. But also economic survival. If you want one of the biggest hacks for economic survival, find a man or find a woman that you love and figure out a way to get along with that person. And study it as if it's a class. Like, read books, talk to a therapist, go like watch good, healthy YouTube videos from professionals, not just somebody who's just gonna give you tell you what you want to hear. I'm talking about people that are actually trained in this. There are so many Black therapists out here that completely get ignored because there's some loudmouth who's telling people what they want to hear. They're telling you that men ain't nothing, and he don't like you because or that black women and this and black women that, those people get all the attention, but they're giving very unhealthy advice that end up dividing families and breaking up relationships. But there are people that actually have training, that actually have degrees in this stuff, that have read books on conflict resolution, that don't get the attention they deserve. And I think that this shows up not just in terms of family, but it shows up in terms of wealth. Because if you measure wealth levels of broken families, 99 times out of 100, the broken family has economic struggles that don't typically exist as much in the structured family. Why is that? It's very basic. If you're doing a two-person job by yourself, then that's going to be a lot of weight on you. My wife got sick with she had COVID about a month ago, and and I was like, you know what? You focus on getting better. I'll take care of the kids. I'll make sure everything's handled. If I had not been in the house, then she would have had to handle all the kids, get the bills paid, take care of all this other stuff, and still be trying to recover from COVID. That's very, very hard to do. So this is not personal advice. This is not relationship advice. This is survival advice. This is also financial advice. So one of these assumptions that they always make in these studies when they talk about where the average American worker is and where the average American is in terms of income, they always assume that everybody's doing it by themselves. And the people that are not doing it by themselves have a natural advantage over those that are alone. Okay. So whatever your situation is, I'm not telling you what to do. That's not my job. I'm just telling you that 2 + 2 = 4. So which is something that you knew all the time, which means that 2 incomes is typically better than 1. 2 people working on a job is typically better than 1, and really even better. You'll see people that come from other countries that will work together with 10 or 12 people, even living in the same house. And we think that's weird. People come from Mexico and they got 13 people in the same house. And we're like, how are all those people living in the same house? Well, that's a wealth hack. Now 13 people are splitting the mortgage or the rent for one location. So they're saving and stacking all that money, and they're putting that money into a business. And then when that business gets going, they take the profits out and put that into the next business and the next business and the next business. Next thing you know, they own 10 gas stations or 14 7-Elevens, or they have 22 apartment units that are all collecting rent. This is how you build economically. And these are the models that I think should be taught as a standard in our community, instead of those models of, just do it by yourself, go get a job, work for a white guy, and then to blow your money at the club, right? Because you want to imitate the rappers who are also blowing their money at the club. That's all silly. That's all nonsense. So let's talk about the economic culture. All right, guys. I'm going to get out of here. My new book is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. You can get a copy. You go to boycewatkins.com. My books are there. Also, there's lots of free stuff there. There's a training how to make money without working. If you also want to get profit alerts that I send out regularly, just text the word stock to 31996. If you text stock to 31996, I will send you text messages. I'll send you lots of free stuff. I'll send you a free e-copy of my book. It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar. I think you're going to like it. It's a very short read, but it's a 60-year plan for how B1 people are going to be the most economically intelligent people on the planet. But it's going to take about 60 years for it to implement. It's not, this kind of power is not something that you build overnight. And we're in year 13 of that plan, and it's already worked. We've already been able to help change the culture. You've seen a lot of things changing, but this is really just the beginning of it. I think in about 20 years, when a lot of us are old, that's when you're really going to see things kicking in. Anyway, feel free if you'd like to take a look. That's all free. Also, I hope you'll join us at the All Black National Convention. It's going to be in Atlanta, October 20th at the Marriott Marquis. If you'd like to join us there, just go to allblacknationalconvention.com. I look forward to seeing you there. So take care. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all very, very soon. Take care now. Peace.